WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Indianapolis Shakespeare Company, presenting Riverside, a play by M.L. Roberts, July 18th to the 27th at Taggart Memorial Amphitheater. More at indieshakes.com.
WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.
This is WFYI News Now. It's July 15th, and I'm Abrianna Herron. On today's show, Indiana Democrats choose their nominees for Attorney General and Lieutenant Governor. The FSSA asks a court to suspend a federal ruling that would invalidate the state's Medicaid expansion program. And Jim Morris, a pivotal figure in central Indiana for over 60 years, passed away Friday night.
We have no chance if we don't have some sense of unity, some sense of community.
Those stories coming up, but first, Indiana leaders shared thoughts and prayers Saturday after a shooting at former President Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. On social media, U.S. Senator Mike Braun and Congressman Jim Banks sent prayers to Trump and his family. U.S. Senator Todd Young said violence is never the answer. Indiana Democrats were in the middle of their state convention when news of the shooting first came in. Gubernatorial candidate Jennifer McCormick says there is no room for violence in political discourse.
There's just other ways to handle disagreement, and it's not through violence.
Indiana Democratic Party Chair Mike Schmuel says he was totally shocked and called the shooting scary.
Safety of people who are running for public office and putting their name on the ballot, that's not a partisan issue. That's just an American issue. You should be safe in this country to speak your mind.
In a statement, Republican Party Chair Randy Head said everyone's thoughts and prayers are with Trump and those at the rally. Destiny Wells is the Democratic nominee for Indiana Attorney General. As Indiana Public Broadcasting's Brandon Smith reports, Wells secured nearly 70% of the vote from Democratic delegates Saturday at the state party convention.
Wells is a lieutenant colonel in the Army National Guard and previously worked in the Attorney General's office. She says she wants to restore professionalism to an office she argues has become hyper-politicized under current Attorney General Todd Rokita. Wells won the nomination over Beth White, a former county clerk and current head of the Indiana Coalition to End Sexual Assault and Human Trafficking. Wells says the convention vote was about moving into the future.
Folks saying, hey, look at some of these younger leaders, let's give them a chance. And that's why we framed it as, if not now, then when.
Wells lost the race for Indiana's Secretary of State in 2022. No Democrat has won the Attorney General's office since 1996. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the State House.
And former state lawmaker Terry Goodin easily secured the Democratic nomination for Lieutenant Governor Saturday. Goodin secured nearly 80% of the vote from Democratic delegates at the state party convention. The conservative Democrat had caused some unease within the party when gubernatorial candidate Jennifer McCormick named him as her pick for running mate. At the State House, Goodin had voted against gay marriage and abortion rights. But in the last few weeks, Goodin apologized for those votes. And he says Saturday's convention results should alleviate any concerns.
You know, I always pride myself on being a lifelong learner, and we've had those conversations, and I think today's vote just reaffirmed folks' confidence in my ability to do the good job.
Goodin and McCormick are both former school superintendents, and they're leaning heavily on the importance of public education in the campaign. McCormick says Hoosiers want common sense from their governor.
Focus on good-paying jobs and a strong economy, good education, and accessible, affordable health care and our health care rights.
A Democrat hasn't won the governor's office since the year 2000. The Indiana Family and Social Services Administration asked a court to suspend a federal ruling that would invalidate the state's Medicaid expansion program. The program is known as the Healthy Indiana Plan, or HIP 2.0. It covers low-income adults under 65. The ruling challenged several policies of the program. This included monthly contributions that people needed to pay to access HIP Plus, a plan that offers more benefits like dental coverage. Advocates say on the long term, the ruling would address issues with the program that had led to some people losing their health insurance. But the FSSA says the federal ruling creates considerable uncertainty for the entire program. The agency says if the ruling is not suspended, it will have to transition HIP Plus members to different packages with less coverage. The FSSA also sent a letter to the federal government asking for support in the motion and to reissue the HIP approval if the motion is not granted. And for our final story today, Jim Morris, a pivotal figure in central Indiana's business and civic communities for over 60 years, passed away on Friday night at the age of 81. Morris was the vice chairman of the Pacers organization. WFYI's Ben Thorpe has more.
Over his 60-year career, Terre Haute native Jim Morris had an impact on numerous organizations at both the local and international levels. Morris served the United Nations, worked for the Lilly Endowment, and held a position as chief of staff for Indianapolis Mayor Richard Lugar, where he helped shape the city through the early 1970s. During a speech in 2009, Morris said Indiana cities needed to be inclusive if they wanted to succeed.
We have no chance if we don't have some sense of unity, some sense of community.
Governor Eric Holcomb and Mayor Joe Hogsett said Morris created a foundation of success for the city and the state. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Ben Thorpe.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Dodlin with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Heron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Indianapolis Shakespeare Company, presenting Riverside, a play by M.L. Roberts, July 18th to the 27th at Taggart Memorial Amphitheater. More at IndyShakes.com.